So welcome back to the channel, this tactical intellectual channel. For the video presentation topic today, I wanted to discuss the updated version of my logo and all the symbology and meaning behind it. So let's go ahead and get into the elements of it. Now I have a display of my logo on the screen right now, and what do you see? You see a sword, a spear, a shield, a serpent. What is that about? The color blue, gray. I mean, what does all of this mean? Well, let's go ahead and start off with the sword. Okay, so I definitely don't intend or want to come across as if I am talking down or speaking down on anyone, but we're gonna check out this article to gain more clarity on the use of the sword. All right, so the sword versus spear article here. We're gonna look at the bottom portion that's already highlighted, and it says, you name it, the sword rules supreme in this regard. It can cut, chop, and slice, and even thrust when using the right shaped blade. But is it best in battle? All right, so this page right here, the purple highlight markings right there says, swords had their place as a personal status symbol and were certainly effective as battlefields clogged with soldiers. It was a weapon better suited for close quarters combat or civilian duelings. All right, now for me personally, this metaphor is kind of twofold. When you want to have a goal that you want to plan for, that sword is basically short-term goals. That's what I think of right there. Or, you know, because of that close quarters combat, you're handling something directly, so you can just handle something directly and don't have to plan for anything, do anything elaborate or out of the ordinary, just directly take care of it. So let's go ahead and go to the spear and what that means for me. All right, so now, in being true to myself and my style, I like to give a good visualization of things to, I guess, spark the mind into seeing the vision. I love to elaborate on things and just come up with side points that seem like it didn't have anything to do with anything initially, but then it pieces together seamlessly. So let me just play a little bit of video in regards on the use of the spear, and maybe things will click.
Hi, I'm Matt Easton of Schola Gladiatore, and I teach people how to use things like spears and swords and daggers. So Troy is really interesting because it's one of those rare occasions in movie fights where we see them actually attempting to use spear and shield together. You know, the spear and shield was absolutely the standard dueling weapon for heroes to fight with in the ancient world. And you only have to look at ancient Greek vases to see the two heroes standing in front of each other with the spear raised and the shield in front of them. Achilles lances his spear out at maximum length with a thrust, and that is predominantly how spears are supposed to be used. You grip it as near to the back of the shaft as you possibly can. It's actually remarkably difficult to find an opening to stab with a spear if the opponent has a large shield, as here. That's why. In any army in the so-called Dark Ages, in the early medieval period, the spear and shield was the primary weapon of battle. They fought in shield walls with a spear. Yeah, richer people might have a sword and other people might have an axe, but those are weapons that are only really useful once you've closed beyond spear range. One of the great things about spears is they are one of the best hand weapons that you can have in your hand, and they're also a really good missile weapon. At any moment they can get thrown, and psychologically that makes a huge difference within the fight. Even if the opponent doesn't throw the spear, the knowledge that they could throw it at any moment as a javelin really changes how you fight. It makes sure you keep your shield up. It makes you very wary. I've once been in a fight, in a tournament in fact, where the opponent had a spear and shield, I had sword and shield. So I'm up there preparing to protect my head and my torso against the spear throw, and I get a spear right in the leg. And if that had been a real spear and gone through my leg, then I wouldn't have been fighting anymore. Thrown spears are incredibly powerful. They will stick deeply into a shield. If they hit you in the body, you're in big trouble. I mean, they'll go through through a person's torso, and they'll also penetrate certain types of armor.
Man, I love stuff like this, man. The attention to detail when explaining the different uses that a spear may have to the person who wields it. I mean, you saw it. You can indeed intend to be mid-range to the person that you're fighting, and I mean, you can put more distance between you and the person, and then you can wield it and turn it into a javelin. And the people who are fighting you, they have to be aware of that. They have to maneuver and game plan and keep that shield up or the defenses up. So realistically, the window is open to do some devastating combos with that shield and sword. I mean, you can use it as a javelin. They put that shield up and they get stuck in. I mean, but you can move at the same time with your sword and administer that coup de grace type of blow right there. So let's go ahead and move forward.
If you look at history, this is the weapon number one, especially on the battlefield, and especially over large periods of time. The spear is always there. It doesn't matter where you look. Doesn't matter how far back in time you go. In fact, the oldest wooden spears known were found in Germany, and they're between 380,000 and 400,000 years old. So that was the time of Homo heidelbergensis, not Homo sapiens yet.
Hey, did y'all catch that? The Homo heidelbergensis reconstruction right there? You know, it didn't look exactly like that, but it was a melanated person in Germany. So I mean, I digress. We'll catch that later in the Germanic video presentations. But let's go ahead and move forward.
The spear is, of course, considered primarily a thrusting weapon, but you could find some remarkably large spearheads. For example, many Celtic, Germanic, and Norse spears could have rather long blades that would definitely lend themselves to the cut. By the way, as a little bonus, I'll talk about the Norse atger at the end of the video. Even if you have a relatively short spearhead like this, if you deliver a cut with this with good structure and enough power, this would still be effective. It still has edges, and even though it wouldn't cut quite as deeply as a large spearhead, you wouldn't want to be hit by this. It's not to be underestimated. So let's talk about advantages and disadvantages. The most obvious advantage is reach. It's a long stick. I can be all the way over here, and I reach that far. So that makes it very dangerous to face with a shorter weapon, because you have to enter an area where you're endangered, but there's no way you can threaten the opponent yet. That makes it also simpler to deal with multiple opponents. So with a spear or a staff compared to a sword, I'm a beginner. Even so, on an open field, I can take on two competent sword fighters and have a good chance of winning. Even if one tries to keep me busy while the other rushes in, it really doesn't take me much time to rotate and strike the other person or switch hands and thrust toward the other side. The other thing that makes it very difficult to defend against is the speed. Now, in a rehearsed demonstration or in technique drills, you can come up with plenty of ways to defeat it. In fact, technically, all you need to do is push the spear to the side, rush in, grab it, and then close in and finish off the spear wielder. However, in practical terms, against an opponent who doesn't play nice with your shenanigans, all it takes is disengage and come back to thrust. Plus, if they keep harassing you all the time and change direction and angle, high, low, etc., this is very difficult to deal with, and I can very easily keep doing this. You know, feint high, thrust low, feint low, thrust high, etc. Next up is armor penetration. It's not going to puncture a steel breastplate. Obviously, this is not some fantasy world where all the armor is made of cardboard, but you can pierce mail pretty effectively with this. We've done some tests. You can also thrust into the gaps of plate armor or the open face or an opening in the visor, etc. Next up, you can grapple with the spear. You can use the butt end of it. And if you have lugs or wings, you can also hook with that. But you can definitely use the spear shaft to lever and trip somebody up and drag them down, etc.
So of course, I'm not gonna use a spear sword, shield in real life. All of this is metaphorical and symbolic when it comes to my logo there. So with that spear, I just want to highlight the versatility and mid-range and long-range factors when it comes to that element that comes into play, and the people that you are combating, they have to have that in their mind. If they don't realize that, then they're going in blind and they're reckless, and you'll make quick work of them. On this platform here, we're dealing with facts and who has the better point, who has holes in their argument. So it's more of a debate type setting here. On YouTube, when you are talking about historical things, historical facts, historical peoples. So there's also a current of false narrative that you have to go and battle against. That's why I have this battle theme here on my logo, because you're battling current day narrative, and those are full of lies, man. Chalk is Swiss cheese right now. So that spear, sword, shield, I mean, that's you're battling against bad narrative and a bunch of lies. So you just have to show and prove a lot, and that's what I do on this platform. So that's why I decided to go with that combat theme. Now, when it comes to the shield in my logo, well, that's easy work. That's just having a defense for people that uphold bad narrative and lies. You have to defend your premise, defend your points, defend your overall position on whatever. So, that's easy work right there. So now that shield is basically whatever we decide to implement so that we do not take the full brunt of problems in life, whatever form it may meet us as. It can be on the job issues, family issues, medical problems, the problem with the economy, whatever. I mean, you don't want to take the full brunt of those issues, so you do have to have some type of guard between you and potential problems. And again, I'm on a YouTube platform, so it's kind of like a debate structure. I have to use my strategy to guard against bad narrative. Like I say, people that want to troll against you, people that want to try to pick holes in whatever argument that you have, and vice versa. So now I did say potential problems. Now that's why I have the image of the snake or serpent right there. And pay attention to what side is striking at. It's not striking from the left hand side, but the right hand side. And the significance, well, it's basically scriptural why I use it, a serpent. What is it in the book of Matthew, chapter 10, 16 to be exact? It say, be ye wise as serpents. So I got that wisdom angle right there. That prudence, that foresight that you can use when you guard and attack whatever issue is in your life. Yeah, also you need wisdom and prudence to determine if you should handle an issue directly and immediately, or do you have enough time to kind of handle an issue in the mid-term or long term. And again, that shield comes into play again, because you want to make sure that in life you don't incur heavy damages, so that you don't pay a heavy cost in whatever you decide to do. Personal actions wise, also when it comes to the serpent, there's a scripture, Genesis 49:16 is talking about how Dan will be a serpent in the way, a viper by the path of the horseman that causes the man to fall over. So I mean, I use that too. So I just love those correlations there. So yeah, those are basically my two reasons for using that serpent image from the right hand side, being wise and Dan or Don angle. All right, so I mentioned a lot about versatility and how you should have it. That's a valuable thing. So I mean, right now I'm still channel building, and I'm definitely gonna have more versatile topics to speak on, not just from the historic angle, but the history thing, that's a mirror for us today. But there's issues present day that needs to be spoken about really. So I'm definitely gonna do that more. And hey, stay tuned. Like I say, I'm still building this channel up. So that concludes this video presentation here. See you guys later.